Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Dear students, class 9th biology, chapter number 3, Biodiversity. इससे पहले हम इसका पार्ट 1 डिस्कस कर चुके. आज हम इसी चैप्टर का पार्ट नंबर 2 विद रेफरेंस टू द सिलेक्शन ऑफ डिफरेंट कैटेगरीज ऑफ क्वेश्चंस डिस्कस करेंगे. जो पेज हमारे सामने मौजूद है, इस पेज पर जो सबसे पहला पॉइंट हम देख सकते हैं, दैट इज़ अबाउट द डेफिनेशन ऑफ टैक्सा, एंड दैट इज़ द फर्स्ट शॉर्ट क्वेश्चन. डिफाइन टैक्सा. द ग्रुप्स into which organisms are classified are known as taxonomic categories or taxa. And the other short question is the definition of taxonomic hierarchy. The taxa form a ladder called taxonomic hierarchy. There are some other definitions which can be asked as short questions. The first definition is phylum, the other is class, then order, next one is family, next one is genus, and in the last there is the definition of species. All these definitions can be selected as short questions in the examination. If we consider the MCQs which are present on this page, the first one is from the definition of taxa, the other is from the definition of taxonomic hierarchy, and the next one, all organisms are divided into 5 kingdoms. Kingdom is the largest taxon. Phylum is the group of related classes. Class is the group of related orders. Order is the group of related families. And the family is a group of related genera. Genera is a group of related species, and the species consist of similar organisms. Members of lower taxon resemble one another more than do the members of a higher taxon. There are 2 questions on the very start of this page, and these questions are about the classification of human and the classification of pea plant. Classification of human beings starts from kingdom and ends at species, and the other taxas are present in between them, and you will have to write about the detail of these taxa. Kingdom Animalia, phylum Chordata, class Mammalia, order Primates, family Hominides, genus Homeo, and species Homo sapiens. And if we write the classification of pea plant, then kingdom Plantae, phylum Magnoliophyta, class Magnoliocida, order Fabiales, family Fabaceae, genus Pisum, and the species is Pisum sativum. So these both kinds of classification, human and pea, can be asked as short questions in the examination. And the next one is about the definition of species, the basic unit of classification. Define species. A species is a group of organisms which can interbreed freely among themselves and produce fertile offsprings, but are reproductively isolated from all other such groups in nature. That is the definition of species. There are some MCQs on this page. All the taxas which we have discussed for the short question about the classification of human and pea can be selected as well for MCQs. For example, the genus of man is Homo, the species is Homo sapien, Plantae name is Pisum sativum, and all other taxas can be asked as well with reference to MCQs. Species is the basic unit of classification. And the next page also starts with the question, why in the definition of species we must emphasize in nature. We must emphasize in nature while we are defining species, because two organisms related to two different but closely related species can cross breed under artificial conditions. In such unnatural crosses, they produce infertile offspring. So we must emphasize in nature. And the next question is, how mule is produced? A cross between a male donkey and a female horse produce an infertile offspring, that is mule. And the third question is, can the criteria of interbreeding be used for all species or can be used for unicellular organisms? The criteria cannot be used for species recognition in organisms, particularly for those organisms who produce sexually and don't interbreed with one another. For example, many unicellular organisms. And the MCQs is, a cross between a male donkey and a female horse produces an infertile offspring, that is the mule. The next topic is about the history of classification system. The first question is about the work of Aristotle. What is the contribution of Aristotle in classification? Aristotle classified all living organisms known at that time as either the group Plantae or in Animalia. The next question is about what is the contribution of Abu Usman Umar al-Jahiz. He described the characteristics of 350 species in animals in his book, and he also wrote a lot about the life of ants. The third one is a contribution of Ibn Rushd. He translated Aristotle's book De Anima on the Soul in Arabic. There are some multiple choices as well. The first one is about Aristotle. That is the classification of organism system comes from the Greek philosopher Aristotle. Aristotle divided the organisms into plantae and animalia. Abu Usman worked in 700s. Ibn Rushd worked in 1172. Aristotle's book was De Anima, and at the end of 15th century many biologists had started work on classification methods. And the next question is about the work of Carolus Linnaeus. Carolus Linnaeus divided nature into three kingdoms, and those were minerals, vegetable, and animals. Linnaeus uses 5 ranks in classification, and those were class, order, genus, species, and variety. And then there are the works of other scientists. All these works can be selected as short questions. Andrea, John Ray, August Tournefort, and Carolus Linnaeus. And there are some multiple choices as well. The first one is about the work of Carolus Linnaeus. The others are the era of Andrea, the era of John Ray, the era of August, the era of Tournefort, and the era of Carolus Linnaeus. And other works. Andrea divided plants into 15 groups and called them genera. John Ray published important works on plants classification. August Ravenus introduced a taxon of order. Tournefort introduced the taxa of class and species. And Carolus Linnaeus, as we have discussed above, grouped species according to similar physical characteristics. So these were the works of different scientists on classification. In the next topic, we shall discuss the next details of this chapter. Till then, Allah Hafiz.